Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Mushroom Kingdom. We are going to be racing another SMB3 randomizer run here with DaveLindo and Jaylow7. These guys are from the Group L, as in, look, it's time for another Super Mario Bros. 3 randomizer run. So these guys are bringing a lot to the table right now. DaveLindo is currently 1 and 2. As you'll notice, there is already a win noted under DaveLindo's stream. And that is because he and Jaylow actually already played one of their races on, or sometime last week, I believe it was on the 13th. So we're going to be getting started here in just one moment. The runners have just taken off. We're getting started with a World 3 start. Kind of interesting. The first fort is a Fort Knox with no resources. That does mean that these runners are going to have to go and get a power-up before they can go get the Tanuki suit, and then they're going to fly up to the top of the level and take on Boom Boom. So as I was saying just a moment ago, I believe on the 13th, so about 5 days ago, Jaylow and DaveLindo had played their first match. Jaylow had a little bit of an issue with some technical difficulties, so he did have to back out of the second race. So now we're going to go ahead and bring that to you live here tonight. And this will, of course, be the final match between these two. DaveLindo coming off of a 0-2 loss last night to DLP316, but not for the sake of trying. If you were part of that last night, then I'm sure I don't even have to tell you what kind of a match that was, because it was nothing short of extraordinary. And I'm really hoping that DaveLindo puts on the pressure here, really shows who he is and what he can do, because the last two matches he's going to have is with the current second place winner. So the two of these guys are going to have to figure out how to make a win happen here. Jaylow7 looking for a bit of a spoiler, and DaveLindo is going to be looking to seal the possibility of a second place run. So right now, what's currently on the table for DaveLindo is the possibility of a 4-2 run. His only two losses being to the number 1 seed currently in the tournament, and that of course is DLP316, who went undefeated last night and currently has the lowest average time, currently edging out both Macobra52, who was on comms earlier tonight, as well as Mitch Flower Power, who is no stranger to the tournament scene in Super Mario Bros. 3, as well as Super Mario Bros. 3 Randomizer. So a lot of talent there. DaveLindo, a little bit of a newcomer to the randomizer scene, but doesn't show it. Does not show it. Definitely is a great player. That was evidenced last night. I was on the edge of my seat. I had goosebumps nearly the entire time. Such a leadership change. We didn't even bother changing the sound because it went back and forth so quickly, and just a fantastic run all around from both players. You know, it was definitely a wonderful time. We are here with a randomizer run. I am Growlwolf. I probably should have introduced myself, but we are really just wanting to see what happens here so far and kind of get ready for what happens next. We'd also like to remind everybody that there is actually a cash prize associated with this tournament. So not only are these guys playing in the groups, and then the 24 that have the better of the averages are going to be moving on, as well as win-loss records, of course. But then they're also going to be fighting out for a place for actual cash prize. And currently, I believe that pot is at 365. And if they are able to get it up to, I believe, 500, they said, they're going to go ahead and give the top 4 places a prize as well as part of the pot. So a lot riding on the line for these guys. And who benefits from that is us, the viewers, the commentators. You know, I get to be the one that calls the shots, and I definitely appreciate that. Love being here with you all in that regard. And really, it's just a great time all around in doing these tournaments. You know, we love putting them on for you all, and we hope you enjoy them as much as we do. So right now we've got an interesting World 3. We saw 7F1 earlier, that was Fort Knox, and now we have DaveLindo finishing off 7F2, and of course that will be a Boom Boom with 3 hits, and that will be the end of it for him. Jaylow7 now just hot on his tails, about a level behind, and he is going to be going into 7F2 as well. DaveLindo doing a little bit of a pipe dance, wants to know what's on the other side of these pipes. It looks like he has found Wendy, and that is going to be the end of World 3 once he's able to get through his airship, which I believe is World 7's airship. It is. and it is one of the longest. Now, one of the things that you'll notice about this one is that there's no auto scroller. And that is because we as randomizer runners have one rule and one rule only, and that is we gotta go fast. So auto scrollers definitely slowed these guys down. We said, all right, that's enough of that. We turned those off and we said, we want to see what you can do. So now both of these guys are going to be going through as quickly as possible. A little bit of an issue on the side of Jaylow7. He does have a bit of a problem with 7F2. That's not surprising. 7F2 can be a huge pain for a lot of runners. I know personally my very first randomizer run, it took me about an hour and a half to get through 7F2. And that's not an exaggeration. It literally took me 2.5 hours. So anyway, hopefully it doesn't take him that long. I don't think it will. He's going to equip that Tanuki suit that he just got. And time to go. Meanwhile, DaveLindo has just finished off World 1, which was, of course, Vanilla World 3, and he will be moving on to our next world as well. Of course, anytime during the airship, if you want to guess the next world. I'm not always great about making sure that we play that little mini game. If you want to, then we will certainly bring that up also. We are in World 7, so the two fortresses we just played are in fact the fortresses that are usually here, but of course they're not going to be there now because they've already played them. And we don't duplicate levels. So DaveLindo, in the process of figuring out, okay, where exactly am I going now? He has found the third island and no fortress there. So he is going to have to go back, play through the pipe game, and see if he can figure out where that's at. Currently in 8-1, he looks like he's going to be trying to go with a flying strategy. He does get the P speed. We'll see if he's able to get the pipe. He does not, so he's just going to fly over the piranhas, not be able to make it up to the pipe, and we'll have to go down through the bottom route. Jaylow has made it through 7F2. He is on to his fight with Boom Boom 3 shots later, and that's going to be the end of it. One more, and he is out of there. DaveLindo still working meticulously to get through this 8-1. Wasn't able to get that B-speed strat. It's definitely a hard one, but that does not deter him at all. He is on his way through. Jaylow7 now finding Windy as well. He'll be going through the 7 airship and will be taking on Windy, who actually was a super lightweight. If you want to compare her to the menu, it was about a snack wrap, and that was about it. So now DaveLindo knows there's a pipe, knows there's a fortress, and only one. So the guessing game is only because of where the pipes are that take him there, and not so much which fortress is required. Jaylow equipping a star to see if that can help him further on in this level. So far so good. Looks like we have 6-6 coming out to play for DaveLindo. That's a fun one. And by fun, I mean it's absolutely sadistic and a terrible level. But, you know, we love him. We play him anyway, and that's what we're going to be doing here. We'll have to wait and see what sea creatures we've got. So far, not too terrible. Mainly just a bunch of cheap cheeps, minding their own business, going out for their daily swim. Jaylow with 0 problems with Wendy, and he is going to be able to get through her and grab the wand and be on his way to World 7 as well. DaveLindo is being cornered by a separating Bluebird, who finally gives up and lets it go through, and not before another Bluebird tries to track him down. Fortunately, though, he is through the piranha section of the tunnel, and he will be able to climb the way to victory at the very end of 6-6. All right, it looks like we've got Jaylow now trying to catch up, find the tube that takes him to the third or to the right island to play the fortress, which is actually the super tank. So looks like DaveLindo went ahead and equipped a P-wing. I think that's a little interesting. Looked like he wanted just a little bit of an insurance. That's usually a really good strategy if you've got a fortress that requires a wing, specifically 7F1 that's already been played. So it looked like DaveLindo was really just going for a little bit of insurance there, just to make sure that he's on the right page. Jaylow finding the pit house on the right-hand side of the screen. He's going to have to go back now, kind of do a little bit of dance, figure out where the fortress is, and go from there. Meanwhile, DaveLindo does have the door open. he has our first lost level stage. It is deemed the Waterfall. It has a similar design to levels such as 7-1 and 7-6, which usually aren't played because they take a long time. And let's just face it, clipping is a lot easier and a lot more fun. So that is one level that you aren't able to clip through, obviously, because you don't start outside the level. You do start inside of it, so you have to go through it. Fortunately, though, there are no enemies there, so really nothing to worry about. Just a mash on the keyboard, or on your controller, I should say, to get to the very end and get through it. DaveLindo now onto the third airship. This is the one that usually houses Wendy. This time it will be the Conductor of Chaos, the Beethoven of Blasphemy, the absolute nightmare of Nachtmusik. I don't know, it's a Mozart, I believe, piece. Somebody can correct me if they want. Either way, this is still Ludwig von Koopa. He does have a flat level, well, but that's just not going to matter because he's only a one-shot. So far, these Koopalines have been lightweights. We'll see if that changes here in just a moment. As always, we'd like to invite you to go ahead and take a guess at what the next world is going to be. We have currently seen 3 and 7 so far. I think I'm going to have to go with my personal favorite and say I think World 6 is coming up next. I'd like to see my buddy Lemmy. Jaylow now onto the waterfalls. He is cruising here so far. You love to see it. You really do. And hopefully he's able to find that fortress here in just a moment and get through it real quick and be able to catch up as well. That is going to be World 2 that comes out to play. DaveLindo eyeing up the pipe, wants to kind of know what's going on here. There is a lock in front of the castle. There are 2 locks in all, which means there are 2 fortresses. So he's going to have to go back and play Guess the Fortress. We'll see if he picks this right. 3-1 is going to be the first one. Token Streamer, you absolutely were close, a lot closer than I was. You were 1 away, I was 4 away. Maybe next time I'll get close. I'm very bad at guessing those. Jaylow still in the process of figuring out what's next. Now, one thing to note here is there is a possibility that a hammer could come into play. Now, the reason I say this is the flags that were picked is no in card. So every 80,000 points in the original game, the in card game would appear, which was a matching game. So if you match 2 items, you would get the item that, or the coins that were attached to the pair. So there was things like the mushrooms, the starman, the fire flowers, 10 coins, 20 coins, and so on. And I believe even a 1-up, I think those were the 6 items. And they would be strewn about 18 cards. There were, of course, a few duplicates. And once you match those, you, of course, got the item that was in question. Well, we've randomized it. So even though the cards have stayed the same, we haven't changed those at all. The item that comes away from, or that comes out of it, is random. But it will be the same for all of those. So if you get 2 fire flowers, it could be a frog suit. It could be a lot of things. What it cannot be, though, is a hammer or a warp whistle. And warp whistles are not allowed. So even in those stages like 1-3 in the World 1's Fortress and World 4-1, there is no warp whistle allowed. We have removed those. We don't want our runners to cheat. We don't want them going through too quickly. We want our runners to go through the old-fashioned way. If you are familiar with the speedrun categories, then you will know that it is basically an any percent no wrong warp, or warpless any percent run, I should say. So that also includes the no wrong warp. We're not going to let our runners go through 7-1, try to hijack it. We do randomize the enemy moves, or the enemy sets that are in these levels. So it is a bit of a guess who's going to be where. You could have 7-5 with a boss pass. You could have 1-1 with a angry sun. You could have a cheap that stays on the screen. Whatever the case may be, the enemy set is randomized and you're going to have to figure it out. So there are just a couple, I believe, that doesn't actually play a factor in, and I think Atlantis is one of those. 5-9, it can vary actually, but that's one of the other auto-scrollers. Atlantis and 5-9 are the 2 that are auto-scrollers. That's hard for me to say, I apologize. But we'll point those out, of course, as those come up, as we call all the action here. Meanwhile, DaveLindo taking a star for an orb kill on this Boom Boom, or as some like to call it, a bro, because it is an upside-down orb, and apparently that's how you get bro. Who knew? Anyway, that is now the end of World 2 almost for DaveLindo. The first fortress he played was not the correct one, so he did have to go back and play the other fortress. I find it a little bit interesting, but you know, you have to play one, so might as well play the one that's closer. And he did, so now he's going to be going through 4-2 very nicely, and we'll be finishing this up quickly. Jaylow7 now doing his best to still get out of World 7. He has found the fortress. He has defeated it. He's going to go back. He's got a Piranha, and then he's going to be moving on to the end of World 7. Now, DaveLindo did not play this Piranha stage, whereas Jaylow has played this Piranha stage. And very interesting to see. He has kept his music box. I think that might be a wise decision. We'll have to see what happens here and what kind of an item he gets. World 1 airship on the side of DaveLindo, and of course the Koopaline will always be the same for the world they are on. Therefore, Morton will be the one that we see at the end of this airship, which is absolutely true. DaveLindo going for a pseudo fire kill. Currently on 3 hits, he's kind of going for the hybrid. It is a 3-hit kill. Didn't quite get the fire kill out, but I think that's a really wise play. He was able to get through it, no problem at all. Meanwhile, Jaylow7 is doing his best to get through the World 3 airship and has a tail equip. So you got to feel good about his chances here. And no problem at all for him. And he's about to be very tickled to find out that Ludwig only has 1 hit. Now, as we get into the next level, let's go ahead and take our guesses. I'm going to have to go back with, let's go with World 4 this time. We'll shake it up a little bit, try something different. Meanwhile, Jaylow7 will be entering World 2 here in a moment. All right, Token Streamer, you would have been right this time. That is World 1. DaveLindo still does not have a hammer. Therefore, he is going to have to go around, and he's going to have to play the levels as opposed to just breaking the lock and going through where the lock is. Now, I should also mention I started explaining the in-card game. What is different, though, is the in-card game is not allowed, but hammers do break locks and rocks. So a hammer is actually going to have a lot of utility here. Jaylow getting an anchor for the Piranha. Now I should also mention the anchor. In the original vanilla game, the anchor is interesting because if you take on a airship and you lose, the airship will move. The anchor actually keeps it in place though, so if you had any clouds, if you used any abilities that kind of put you through levels, you could anchor the airship in place. That way it doesn't move and you could continue to play it until you got through it. Definitely a big help when I was a kid. But an anchor in the randomizer, because the airship does not move, actually is a random item. So the Jaylow has something that may or may not be of a lot of help. It could be a hammer suit, it could be a fire flower, it could be a frog suit. You know, there's a lot of things it could be. It can't, of course, be a warp whistle, and it cannot be a hammer. But just about anything he can equip, it can be. DaveLindo currently working on his, and to note, Jaylow7 has picked the right way and has already started playing the hammer pros. You have to feel really good about this. I think it's a really wise decision on his part. He went through the pipe, he saw the fortress, he saw the 2 locks, played a 50-50 game and said, you know what? I think I'll play this one. So he does have the right one. Hopefully he doesn't get deterred and continues to play through it. He will. He has a fire flower, and he is going to be going back through this again, and hopefully gets it this time. You really like to see him get through them. DaveLindo now on his way through World 1's fortress. Looked like he was going after a possible item here, but was not able to get a tail to actually get him through it. So he will go through the old-fashioned way, and we'll have to take on Boom Boom here. And of course, 3 hits will be the end of Boom Boom. That is one thing that's not randomized. Hopefully one day we'll see that, but for now, it is 3 shots on Boom Boom, and he is out of there. Meanwhile, Jaylow taking up a Starman item, and will be taking another Bro from Boom Boom as well. And because DaveLindo had 0 reason to not beat that, or to beat that level, he was going to go ahead and go after the item, which I think is a very good decision. With the in-card game not being allowed, or not being in part here, the items are going to be a little bit rare, and these guys are going to have to figure out how to get their items intact. So far, Jaylow doing a fantastic job of keeping that up. The Boomerang Brother is not going to move back, so he is going to go ahead and take on the fight with Morton. and we'll be finishing up and going to World 1's airship, or World 1 as well shortly afterwards. A star for DaveLindo does mean he gets through a couple of water fire brothers very quickly, and he does get a hammer for his efforts. So that is going to be basically a required hammer. That Boomerang Brother is going to be necessary to play virtually anywhere he goes. So definitely going to be worthwhile. DaveLindo on to the fight with Larry here in just a moment, who is at the end of the World 6's airship. And he will be taking that fight to him in just a moment. And Jaylow doing his best to catch up, and that really fantastic World 2 will be enough to catch him up a little bit here. So fantastic job on the side of Jaylow7. Definitely like to see a little bit more of that. And that is the end of World 4, which was World 1. So far we've had 1, 2, 3, and 7, meaning 4, 5, 6 to go. If you'd like to go ahead and get your guesses in with me, I'm going to say World 6 this time. We'll go ahead and flip on back to 4, or from 4 to 6. And looks like Jaylow kind of going through his items, definitely looking for a hammer there. It would have made really short work of this World 1. Unfortunately, it just isn't there. So he is going to have to go through, but I'm sure we'll be very excited to see the hammer come up here in just a moment. Having a little bit of a trouble with World 1-4, but we'll be able to get through that here in a little bit. And okay, looks like so far we have at least 2 fortresses on the side of DaveLindo, and this is in fact World 4. Typically the giant land, but with all of these levels being all over the place, we're just gonna have to go through with what they give us. So there is going to be one world that has 3 fortresses, and so far we've not seen it yet, which means it's still up to play. Thankfully for the runners, it was not in World 7, which made it a pretty linear World 7. There was one fortress you had to find, play, beat, and then go on to Ludwig. Okay, so a hammer has just shown up for the hand stage. That means every hand stage that comes up will have the same item, which means the hammers could potentially be a surplus. And that does mean that our runners will want to use those as soon as they get them, because you do not want to be at the end having not used your hammers. That is a big no-no. DaveLindo on his way through 3F1. We don't see any door 3 skips there today, but that's not a problem at all. DaveLindo is going to be playing just a little bit safe, and that is perfectly fine. Meanwhile, Jaylow is on his way through to where World 1's fortress usually would be. He is going to grab an item that is a fire flower. In the regular game, if you were able to get a star there, you could actually refill that star on each of those, or on the bottom left corner block of the blocks that they have there. But with it being a fire flower, that does not translate, and he will get no further items. And we'll be having to go through this the old-fashioned way. He does get the fire flower, does not decide to use it on the Lakitu. I can't say I blame him. That's a little bit scary, but he will get through this level shortly. And DaveLindo now all the way through World 4. That was a very quick World 4. The first fortress was the one that took him to the end. And here in just one moment, once he gets through the second airship, he will be moving on to the next world. 5 and 6 are the last 2 remaining. If you want to go ahead and get your guesses in, I'm going to go ahead and say 6. Eventually, I will be right. All right, a few hits takes down Iggy, and that is going to be the end of it for him. Jaylow currently going through with a star. Decides to pull back just a little bit. I think he was a little bit concerned about that jump, and I can't say I blame him. That's a bit of a scary one. DaveLindo now coasting through the air, returning the wand to the king, who has this to say. We had one breakfast, yes, but what about second breakfast? Little Lord of the Rings action there for you. Meanwhile, Jaylow7 did just finish the World 1's fortress, and now it is time for him to take on the 2 panel, which is usually where 1-6 will sit. And he is taking on, I believe, 3-5. Sometimes I get my world switched. I apologize. That is actually 3-4. That makes sense because where 3-5 usually is in World 3, it is a... it's water. It's underwater, whereas the 3-4 is actually back to where the land would be. So meanwhile, Jaylow has made quick work of that. Very nicely done on his side. And DaveLindo has just finished off his fortress as well. So both guys doing a great job so far. A really good pace. You love to see it. You really do. Now Jaylow is going to be taking on a mushroom house, and then we'll find a hammer brother here in just one moment who will give him a hammer. I'd like to give a shout out to these two as well. They have both done a great job being newcomers to the community. We definitely appreciate having them. They bring a lot of really good racing talent and a lot of great spirit to the community, so we really appreciate having them on board. If you've liked what you've seen so far, definitely consider giving them a follow. They put on some good content, as you can tell. Both guys are very talented runners, and we look forward to seeing more of them in the future. DaveLindo now onto his fight of World 2's Fortress, and takes care of Boom Boom, no big deal. 5 fireballs is the end of that for him. Meanwhile, Jaylow equipped with the Starman, but will run out right before he gets into his fight with Larry. And I believe this one was 3 shots. We'll see in just a moment. And there is a possibility, or 2 of the Koopalings should have Earthquake as well, but some of the first 2, Wendy and Ludwig, neither one of them had Earthquake as far as we could tell, because they were only 1-shot hits. So might still have a couple of Earthquakers to come up. Meanwhile, we've got DaveLindo making quick work of another world. I believe the second half of this race has been super fast so far. It seems like we were getting close to 20 minutes at the fourth world, and now we're already at the 7th world just after 26 minutes. And of course, as he's falling, that does mean that the very last world we're going to see so far is World 5, which is the Sky Zone, the Dream World, whatever you want to call it. It will be the one with the levels in the sky, and that also means a castle in the sky. Jaylow trying to make sense of what he is seeing here. The lock is not going to be broke, or the bridge is not going to be built by a hammer. Therefore, Jaylow is going to have to go through and play the first fortress he sees. But luckily for him, that does mean that the first fortress is going to open up the way to the castle. So a good thing for him, obviously, because we want to go fast, and that is a perfect way to go fast. If you don't play many levels, you don't take a lot of time. Anywho, so DaveLindo now finishing up his level as well, and he finds that there is a fortress, which is interesting, and there is a tower. A little bit of a marathon from the Hammer Brothers, so he's going to have to wait until they stop. They finally do, and that is now World 8's Fortress. A little bit of a long one, but it's one of my favorites. I think it's a lot of fun, especially once you know the pattern and how this level is supposed to be beaten. All of those doors do take you to different places in the level, but this is the route that these runners prefer. Jaylow looking for an item, he finally finds it, and that is going to be the end of the Hammer Brothers level, which will give him a hammer as soon as he gets through. A little fitting, if you ask me. DaveLindo missed the first cycle, which is very easy to do in this level on a randomizer, and takes an unfortunate death. That thwomp got in the way, and he just wasn't able to build up enough momentum to get over it. No big deal, though. He will be able to finish it off, and it looks like the anchor is a Tanuki suit, so that is interesting. Not really going to be a huge factor, not many levels that needs a Tanuki suit, but it is a little bit added protection. So with that, he does get the mushroom power up basically, and he was able to get it for, or exchange it for a flower, and will be able to finish off the level with this hopefully. And the reason the cycle is very hard is because the pattern, or the monsters do change a little bit. It's kind of hard to predict exactly who's going to be where, but with that, that does not deter DaveLindo the second time. He knew there were 3 Hotfoots, and just like Drake F in the chat has mentioned, there are a lot of Hotfoots, and they are sneaky little guys. They will get underneath you, they will get in your way, they will be a problem, they will cause all kinds of issues for you, and they're just not a lot of fun. Meanwhile, Jaylow has decided to go for a few items. I can't say that I blame him, but at some point, you know, there's such a thing as too much items, so hopefully he doesn't get to that. But so far, so good. I also did notice that he has 3 hammers in his inventory on the front page, or I guess the second page now, and that's going to come in handy. He's going to be able to break a lot of locks at this point, and hopefully it's going to be enough that he can get through and get through a couple of these worlds pretty quick. Meanwhile, DaveLindo is going through the towers, doing his best to get through it as quickly as possible. I believe he took a damage boost through that. Nothing wrong with that. And we'll be finding the top of the tower here in just one moment. Meanwhile, Jaylow7 is going to be taking on his fight with Iggy, who does have Earthquake. Okay, I think I missed that a moment ago. Earthquake Iggy is not very fun, but going to be interesting for Jaylow to see if he can get through this. Very good heads up play there. A lot of times runners will try to go after a quick jump there, but with that patience, the wand did go over him. Unfortunately, we just bared witness to what Iggy likes to do to our runners, and that is hitbox them. So whenever the Koopaline is coming out of the shell spin, there is a brief frame, or just a couple of frames, where if you hit him at the right time, he comes out of it still invincible, and you take the damage instead of him taking damage. So Jaylow, knowing this, has decided he's going to fly over the level with a P-Wing, and will take on Iggy this way. I think it's a very good call on his part. You've got the items, might as well use them. And DaveLindo having a little bit of a problem, so he is going to have to play through the tower again. Looks like he had a little bit of an issue, or maybe just a little bit of an issue with the pipes, maybe trying to figure out what he wants to do there. And actually took a paradox pipe back down, meaning if you, or not a paradox pipe, I apologize, but he did take the pipe that connects to the tower and took it back down to the first level, so he will play the tower again. Bringer of Flowers has asked, wasn't this game like towards the end of the NES? It seems pretty advanced in many ways. I do not believe it was actually towards the end. This was released in Japanese in 1987, and then came to the English version, American version, at 1988. So it has been around for quite a while. I remember being a kid when we actually got our first one. So had actually not been out for, let's see, I'm gonna have to go back and look at the NES. I'll have to get back to you on that. Midiguy DP does bring up that there was nice tower piece speeding by DaveLindo. It absolutely was. Definitely a lot of really good things seen there, so good job on his part. Jaylow7 is now on to World 6, has already figured out where the castle is, and will be looking for the fortress that does break it. Meanwhile, DaveLindo has finished off World 5, another quick one, and just like that, it's going to be just after 32 minutes, we'll be entering World 8. Now, the question that we like to ask here is Bowser's Castle. It is randomized how many bridges could potentially take you to Bowser. Anywhere from 0 to 4 bridges are possible. So go ahead and get your guesses into chat before we figure it out on stream. I'm going to have to go with 3 bridges. I feel like the seed has gotten a little easy for him, and I think we're going to have to go with 3. Interesting play from DaveLindo here. He did not go after the first lock that he saw. He does have hammers, and those do break locks in the seed. So I am curious to see why he didn't go after that, and we'll wait and find out. Meanwhile, he is still going around trying to figure out where the pipes take him, and it is going to be 1. So very nicely, John. I'm going to blow this. I promise you that. Ezerf Nif, which is Fin Freeze backwards. So thank you for that. You made my life difficult, and I appreciate you very much. No, I'm just teasing. So anyway, DaveLindo has now located the Air Force. This is a fortress, potentially, and I believe with it being in the icon, it has to be a fortress. So he will play through this. He will take on the Boom Boom. He will do something. We don't know exactly what that is yet. It could be a lock that gets broken, or it could be a bridge that gets built, and potentially to Bowser. Actually, only to Bowser. That's the only way that a bridge gets built in this world. So we will figure this out here in just one moment, and we'll see if it breaks the lock in the dark room, or if he has to kind of search around a little bit. Jaylow has finished up World 2's fortress, and is going to be moving on as well. And I was just giving you a hard time. Ezerfnif. I really hope I'm not butchering that. I do apologize. I was just giving you a hard time. I apologize. So DaveLindo now on his way through the worlds, and has decided to go ahead and play the next fortress he found, which is in fact 3 Fortress 2. So we saw 3 Fortress 1, the first fortress he would come to in World 3 a little bit ago, and now he is playing the second one you would come to right before you take on Windy. Yeah, a little bit of a weird one. We've got a water fortress in the land of lava. That makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to think about it too much though. Jaylow now onto his fight with Lemmy, who was a small fry, and that will be the end of it for him, and he will be moving on to World 7, which was World 5, and actually was a pretty quick World 5. So he'll play, I believe, a level, a fortress, and then go up the tower, and then there is a fortress up there, but he could in fact skip it if he's got a cloud, so we'll see what he decides to do there. DaveLindo now still in the hunt for the Bowser bridge, which could be in one of two places. Actually, I apologize. If the bridge hasn't already been built, then DaveLindo will have to play the one in the L, and a hand stage does pull out Atlantis. Fortunately, DaveLindo is going to be able to hopefully skip this and not have to play it again, and that is absolutely going to be the case. And he will go back and see if he can find the pipe that takes him to where that L is. So that Atlantis was not required, thankfully, for Dave. I'm sure he breathed a sigh of relief knowing he doesn't have to actually play that. And he has discovered that. So the first fortress that he came to in the L, if he had broken that lock and played that fortress, he would now already be on to Bowser. Hindsight, of course, is 2020. We didn't know that, but we do now. So now Jaylow is going to be taking on World 8's fortress, and has started with a tail so far, a raccoon tail. We'll see if he's able to get through this quickly here. He does get a fire flower. I think that's a better choice for this fortress. Kind of hard to gauge some of these jumps with a tail. Having the fire flower does mean an early and fast kill onto Boom Boom. So we'll see if he is able to pick up another fire flower here, and we'll be going through the conveyor belts here in just one moment. Meanwhile, DaveLindo onto the X elevator, excuse me. Another fire flower for Jaylow, and he is ready to go take on Boom Boom. Meanwhile, DaveLindo into his fight with Boom Boom, and that is going to be 3 jumps, takes him out, and that is the end of it for him. So now Jaylow is going through the cycle, is not going to be able to make it, but that's quite all right. There's one more P-switch underneath here, and having a Mushroom Mario means he'll be able to go right up through there. And we'll see if he decides to go for the item. He does, and he is rewarded a star for his effort. So he'll be able to get a little bit more distance in before the conveyor belt starts back up again. DaveLindo still playing the pipe game of World 8, has to figure out where exactly he's going. And another Atlantis means another 100 coin find, and that's going to be an early exit out of the level for DaveLindo. We'll see if he's able to blow through that here in a moment. He does. And meanwhile, he is still trying to figure out, now where on earth was that fortress? I do have to agree with Pro A. Said it was a wrong turn, and I do believe that is correct. It seemed like he had a couple of pipes in the first lava lake level, and with all the hammers that these guys have, there's really no reason not to do it. The only thing that it does do is it prevents you from knowing exactly where you're breaking locks if you're playing the fortresses. But you know, you're this far into a game, you might as well figure it out. And that does mean that DaveLindo has to try to get by the Atlantis again. He does get it this time, and he is going to equip a P-Wing for 2-3, which I believe is a very good decision. Jaylow7 now trying his best to figure out this tower, and will be finishing up here shortly after a Thwomp and a Roto Disc come to play. Meanwhile, DaveLindo currently fighting through an Angry Sun ridden 2-3. And that is going to be the end of 2-3 for DaveLindo, and Jaylow7 will be exiting tower here in just one moment. So he will be on to the second part of World 5, and that is going to spell the end of it for him with 1 level, 1 fortress, and that's going to be the end of it. 5F2 will be the last fortress, I believe, that DaveLindo has to play, and then shortly afterwards we will get Bowser here once all the routing and stuff is completed. Very nice peak speed run from DaveLindo. A rogue hotfoot does mean he goes into his fight with Boom Boom as small Mario, but do not have any fear. That's not a problem for these guys. They're really, really good at this, and Boom Boom will have no problem at all going down. A Tanuki a Tanuki suit statue for Jaylow, but was just off from the Boomerang Brothers, so he did have to take a little bit of a damage coming out of it, but that's quite all right. Okay, I did miss something. DaveLindo did not have, or he did not take on the fortress yet, so that very well could be the one that takes on or builds the bridge for Bowser as well. A early exit out of 6-9, I believe. Yep, 6-9 means that DaveLindo is going to go back and try to figure out, now where on earth was that Bowser guy? And there it is. It looks like that was finally the correct fortress. A hammer suit equipped. DaveLindo does go into Bowser's castle, guns ablazing, or I guess hammers ablazing. And it is time for a fight with the big boss Lizard. DaveLindo will be utilizing a little bit of caution here. Does not want to use that. Does not want to lose that hammer suit, and will be taking just a little bit of a safe route here. No big deal. Anyone's clip goes through easily, and he is now into the fight with the Poda Boost, the lava or the falling O-rings or the donuts, I guess. Play nicely for him, and he is going for a mac and cheese clip. We'll see if he's able to get it here. Decides to go ahead and go through and take his chances with the fireballs. Now, this in the vanilla game is normal, but here we have randomized it, so you don't know what the pattern looks like, and that will cost him his hammer suit, and the fight with Bowser will take just a little bit longer as Bowser has to jump 5 times to wherever DaveLindo is. Now, this looks a little bit funny right now. Mario standing underneath Bowser. That is a little bit of a coding issue that they had in the original NES game, and that, of course, is what we based this off of. Bowser was not given a hitbox on the lower half of his sprite, so really it's just Mario gets to kind of chill there if he's small Mario. So really not a bad thing if you're small Mario going into a fight with Bowser. It means you just, kind of get to stand there, party, and wait for Bowser to take care of himself. And with that, DaveLindo has now finished off Boss Bowser, and that will be the end of his run. Please get your GGs in chat for our runners. A fantastic job on the behalf of both of these guys. A grueling seed for sure, and that will be the end of Boss Bowser for DaveLindo. We will see if we can get him into an interview here real quick. Love to talk to him about the run, see what he preferred and how he liked it. Also, as always, if you do have any questions for our runners, please feel free to get those into chat. We'd love to see if we can get them answered for you. And we'll go from there. Jaylow also finding that first fortress, deciding not to play it. I don't understand that. You've got the hammers. Might as well give it a go. Although there is a possibility Jaylow may believe that it didn't take that long, or it took a long time for Dave to get through the World 8, because the 4149 is a bit of a higher time for some of our runners. Jaylow does find Bowser's Kingdom, kind of contemplating where he wants to go. Looks like he's going to play the rotating game as well, and we'll see if he can possibly figure out where the fortress is that leads him to Bowser. We, of course, do know that that is, in fact, the one he just skipped, that he could play with if he had broke the lock with the hammer. I apologize. No, there was actually a fortress on the left-hand side. I believe that's the correct one. So if he plays this, breaks the lock, and then goes through that way, that actually is the correct route. So if he's able to figure this out, that would be outstanding and a very good job by him as well. Jaylow on his way through the Air Force, and will be making short work of this as quickly as he can. Alrighty, it looks like we are just about to get DaveLindo into the comms booth with us. And we'll talk to him about this race for a few minutes. We do have a race coming up in 13 minutes. There's a Super Metroid Run race, I believe. Okay, it is a Super Metroid Randomizer League here on this channel that is going to be starting here in 13 minutes. Definitely a great one that you're not going to want to miss. Really do enjoy all the things that SpeedGaming puts on. If you're not already following all of their channels, you definitely don't want to miss it. They do a lot of really, really cool stuff. They are all over the place. They have all kinds of things that they do. They have a Link to the Past randomizer runs. They have Super Metroid randomizer runs. Just a lot of really, really cool things. And not all of it's randomizer. So if this is a little strange and you want to see like the vanilla game, I'm not sure of any races they're currently doing with SMB3, at least coming up, but they do put those on as well. They had one as part of the No Kid Hungry marathon, which was absolutely outstanding. So a lot of really cool things that they're doing. Really appreciate all the things that they are a part of here. And, you know, just want to kind of give back to them with all that they have given back to us. So DaveLindo has just announced he won't be able to do comms. We do really appreciate you racing today, Dave. Really thank you so much for what you've done. Congratulations on the run, a very nicely done run. Really a lot of great things to say about it. I hope that you were happy with your run. We certainly were. Really appreciated watching it. I know it was a bit of a grueling seed. And, you know, thank you for being a part. We look forward to seeing what comes up next for you. And we may have to cut this short. We're going to go ahead and give Jaylow just a couple more minutes. We are going to be moving over to SpeedGaming 4, I believe. Yes, we are going to be moving over to SpeedGaming 4 here in just a few minutes. So at 11 p.m. Eastern time, we do have a race between Human Mustard and Jake Coper out of the Group J, I believe. I'm still getting all these groups right. They have so many, which is exciting. We've got 48 runners in this tournament. Sometimes it's just a little bit hard for me to get all of them in the right order and on track and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so yeah, from the Group J, we have Human Mustard, who's currently 2-0, is going to be taking on Jake Coper, these are his first 2 matches. So we're definitely excited to see that. And we will be looking forward to that race here in just one moment. So Jaylow7 is now on his way through 5F2. We do know this to be the run, or the fortress, I believe, that takes care of the bridge. So he has found it. Hopefully Bowser's Castle comes up here in just one moment, and we will be able to see the end of this world with Jaylow before we do have to skip off. So probably won't get an interview from Jaylow. I definitely appreciate him being here as a part of the tournament. I love having him a part. I've been able to do a couple of the commentaries for his races so far, and I really look forward to seeing him in the future. More of his racing, more of who he is and what he does. And so far he has PB'd from his previous race, so you love to see it. You absolutely do love to see it. Meanwhile, Jaylow is going to be figuring out where Bowser's Castle is. He should be able to go back and figure it out and take on the big boss lizard, and we'll be finishing this off shortly, and then we'll get you right over to the action with Super Metroid Randomizer. And if you want to see more Super Mario Bros. 3, again, don't fret. We're going to be over on SpeedGaming 4, and we'll be watching the Group J, Human Mustard versus Jake Coper. Also, tomorrow we have 2 more randomizer runs. We have Gimp Extreme versus Sharky2107, as well as Tix88 taking on Animus United. Those are going to be very fantastic runs. You're not going to want to miss those. Those are both at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and the SpeedGaming channel is to be announced. Those haven't been decided yet, but if you're following all of them, you'll see it when it comes live, and you won't want to miss those. So definitely be a part of that, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. I won't be on commentary, but another one of our fine, fantastic individuals will be, and we'll look forward to seeing you at that time. A very unfortunate missed jump there for Jaylow does mean a plummet to the lava pit, and that will bring out the P-Wing that he does have stowed away. And round 2 with Bowser begins. Alright, and we are going to be cutting this here in just one moment. We'll see if Jaylow's able to finish off this fight with Bowser here, and then we will get you, like I said, over to the other action. Alright, Jaylow taking a bit of a cautious approach. I like it. I definitely don't mind that at all. And something that's a little bit interesting here is if you two take a crouch jump up at the top of the level, you cannot be hit by a fireball. Thankfully, there was none close enough to the ceiling, and that does mean Jaylow does get that P-Wing, so he will have a little bit of added protection into his fight with Bowser. One nice jump there for Jaylow does mean Bowser goes right into the middle. Okay, he does not break the second because Mario was not low enough. Oh, and that does mean a couple of fireballs, and he was not able to get out of the way on that. And with that, unfortunately, we are going to have to go ahead and cut this stream, and it looks like Jaylow has actually taken a forfeit at this point. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say thank you so much for being a part with us tonight. We're going to get you over to the action on Super Metroid Randomizer League here in just one moment. This has been a lot of fun, and we want to say thank you to all of you in chat who are here and were a part. We really appreciate you being here. We wouldn't be here without you, so thank you so much. On behalf of DaveLindo, Jaylow7, the entire SMB3 randomizer community, and especially SpeedGaming, I have been your commentary for tonight. My name is Growlwolf. I have thoroughly enjoyed our time together. There's a lot of places you could be tonight, but you chose it to be here with us, and we appreciate you for that. So thank you so much. And until next time, keep randomizing, keep racing. Take it easy.